Hi, this is Stephen Rothery here from Beryllium and the Steve Rothery Band. You're watching Morow.com. Obviously, the main difference is this is instrumental, so the whole focus is very different. You know, you're not trying to construct songs, you're just trying to make something work without vocals. So how you approach it, how you arrange it is a little bit different. But this is kind of, it's like a musical holiday for me really. The actual writing process was pretty painless. I had some ideas, I did some writing with my guitarist Dave Foster, who's a really good friend of mine. So the writing process was very painless. The musicians in my band are all amazing players and lovely people. So writing, recording and touring with them it's just a breeze really. Everything is effortless and fun. Well, like I said, Dave Foster, the guitarist, is an old friend of mine, guitarist in a band called Mr. So-and-so, who made an album for a record company I had for a short period of time, around about the time of the first Wishing Tree album. And Leon used to be the drummer in Mr. So-and-so until, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago. So that's how I knew those two. We've actually done some work in the studio with them in the past, some stuff that's never seen the light of day, but some nice ideas. Yatin is a bass player in a band called Panic Room, and Dave was guesting with another band called The Reasoning, and the Panic Room were on the same bill. And both Dave and I, when we saw Yatin play, thought he'd be the perfect bass player if we ever did something. Needed a dream rhythm section. We thought that him and Leon together would be fabulous. So when the Plovdiv Guitar Festival came about a year ago, they were our first choice really, and triggered all the keyboards from MIDI pedals from main stage on a MacBook Pro, and that's how we did the first few gigs really. 3 shows in Italy as well, and the festival in Portugal, Guitar Festival we did. And it was only during the making of the album that Ricardo, who's also the keyboard player in Rothery and is also an engineer and producer, he mixed and edited the Live in Rome audio and video. So I invited him to make a contribution to the album, and I'm incredibly happy with his input. And then when we did the live stuff at Real World, I flew him over from Italy, and so that was the first kind of time that all 5 of us had performed together. The stuff that you see on the special edition DVD, that's kind of how it came about really. I've got hundreds of ideas that have never seen the light of day, and a couple of them have got. I sort of dug into the bag of oldies for. I mean, the title track, that acoustic guitar part has been around for probably 3 or 4 years at least. So but a lot of it just came about, pretty much not spontaneously. So I had a few ideas before, but very very quickly. There's a great. We share a musical vocabulary, Dave and I. So it's very easy. It's almost like finishing each other's sentences, but in terms of music. Well, they're both good friends of mine, and with Steve Hackett, I'd played on the Genesis Revisited 2 album and played live with him on a couple of shows, one of which is on the Hammersmith DVD. And he'd always said that if I wanted him to play in anything, he'd be more than happy to. So he was the first person to first of all played on Morpheus, and then I asked him if he had time, if he could play on Old Man of the Sea as well, and also Stephen Wilson, because I had the idea that the 3 of us playing on there together could create something a little bit different, and would excite a lot of people. And they both really came through, and very very happy with how it turned out. No, that's that's from a very famous French photographer who has an agency. And when I first found the image, I wanted to use it. I went to the agency and licensed it to use it inside the album, but also just as a temporary cover image for the Kickstarter campaign. But then people seemed to love it so much, I then had to go back to the agency here in Paris and try and reach an agreement over using it as a cover image. So that's been very expensive. I mean, I love it as an image, and I think Lassie's done a great job with the other images, and Simon with the putting the booklet together. But yeah, a lot of the money from the Kickstarter campaigns that went to making great artwork, and going down to real world and recording and filming down there and using Lassie. So. But I wanted to. It wasn't about maximising profit. It was just trying to create something special. Special work of art. And at the end of the day, that's when you're a musician. That's your legacy. It's what you leave behind. So it was more important to me to create something special than to make a lot of money. Well, I thought I could make the album for about £15,000, so that's what I set the target for. It was a 60-day campaign, launched on my birthday on the 25th of November, and we managed to hit the target, the 60-day target, in the first 24 hours, so which was absolutely amazing. And that went on to raise very nearly 4 times that amount, but just under £60,000. So again, that's why I could do the special edition and spend the money making something as special as I could. It's one of those things when you're writing ideas, the naming of them is very important. You create something that has a certain mood and atmosphere, and then in a way it doesn't completely exist. It's not real until you give it a name. And once you do give it a name, it almost like defines it and guides you what you might want to do with it, how you might want to evolve the idea. So that was quite a fun part of it, really, is to have something that's just one idea, and then you give it a name, and then you develop it into a finished track. And I wanted things that were quite visual as well, and had certain kind of identity. I read a book by an American photojournalist called Would You Stay? And he'd been and visited both Pripyat and the new town that they built across the river, where the people were travelling from, the scientists and the engineers, who were decommissioning the other reactors that were still online in Chernobyl. And he'd been living with these people and hearing the stories and visiting these old ladies who lived there. They live amongst the radiation. Usually their partners have died from some sort of cancer, but they've kind of survived, and they're eating this produce that they know isn't safe, but it's where they've lived their lives, and if they're going to die anywhere, they want to die there. So again, there's all these different possible connotations of the meaning for the ghosts of Pripyat. There's also this huge exclusion zone around the disaster, where officially no one lives, but apparently quite a lot of criminal element and people, desperate people, actually live within this, off the map, off the grid, in this area. So anyway, it was a very fascinating book. So it's called Would You Stay? No, I was supposed to be playing a concert there. I'd arranged with a promoter in Ukraine to play a concert in Kiev, like a memorial concert for all the thousands of people who died in the disaster, and the people who were sent in to deal with the fallout and the radiation and clear the topsoil from thousands of acres, a lot of whom subsequently died. But unfortunately, I was playing a concert there, and I was flying to Moscow to play a concert, but because of the troubles in the Ukraine, that's had to be postponed. But I would like to visit one day. Morpheus, the Greek god of dreams. So I'm a huge fan of the Sandman series of graphic novels, and I wanted something that kind of conjured up that kind of mood and atmosphere. The artwork of Dave McKean. The old man, well, Kendris is very much like an East meets West thing, and it's based on an ancient name for Plovdiv in Bulgaria, but it was Kendros, and that's again, it's a crossroads between the East and the West, and I wanted something that kind of reflected that musically. It was originally going to be called the Silk Road, but then there was a big scandal with this online drug dealing website called the Silk Road, so then I had to rename it, and then it became Kendris. The Old Man of the Sea, again it's another Greek god. It's a shape-changing Greek god. I grew up by the sea in Whitby, in North Yorkshire, so it was always there in the background. And I moved from there to the furthest point inland, just about in the whole of the country. So yeah, the sea has a certain resonance with me even now. What else? White Pass. The idea of White Pass was to conjure up these frozen wastes in. It's a treacherous pass. I think it's from Alaska to British Columbia. That during the Klondike Gold Rush, thousands of people perished trying to cross over to go and make their fortune. And this particular treacherous pass is White Pass, so trying to paint those pictures with sounds. Yesterday's Hero, it's about all the people that tend to be forgotten, people that go off to fight for their countries, their causes, and if they come back at all, they usually come back damaged in some way, but within a couple of generations they tend to be forgotten about, and that's Yesterday's Hero. Summer's End is kind of like about the ending of a phase of your life, or maybe it's the ending of a relationship, and kind of looking back, maybe with that nostalgia, might be looking back to your youth, or it implies it's the end of an era, and it's time to kind of accept that and move on. So that's Summer's End, and of course the title track.